What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and by the time you're probably seeing this, it is not the first Friday, it's the first Saturday of the month, but that means it's time for my DM's Guild Roundup review, and 3, 2, 1, let's jam. It is Spelljammer time. We are still amidst Spelljammer craze, and now that things have and my voice has gotten back to normal, we will be continuing with our Spelljammer coverage here in the near future, but I thought, I have opinions about Spelljammer, as I'm sure many people, you and other content creators, have put out their thoughts about Spelljammer. Whether it be, you know what, honestly, I don't have enough time here to talk about my potential feelings about Spelljammer. See several of my other videos if you want to see my feedback on it. But I will tell you that I do have 3 Spelljammer-based modules here for you today, and I think all of them do a lot better job of providing information and things for us than what we got from WotC. So, as per usual, if you don't know how these works, these roundup reviews, I'm going to go through 3 different modules you can find over on the DM's Guild. I will have links in the description to all 3 of those modules. Those will be affiliate links, so if you purchase them via my link, I'll actually get a small kickback on it. It is a small amount, but every little bit helps, right? I also have coupon codes down in the description. I have a coupon code that consists and persists every month, all the time, that can get you 5% off a community-created content of $5 or more, and that will be Herald Nerd 5. But I also have a special coupon for you, like I do every time at the start of every month. And this go round, it is Nerd Jammer, Nerdjammer, Nerd Jammer, and that'll get you 10% off community-created content of $10 or more, and that is good through the 16th of September. So let's go ahead and dive in, but hey, subscribe to the channel here if you haven't already. So we have 3 modules for you today. We have Spelljammer Encounters in Wildspace, which is a best Electrum seller and only came out on the 16th of August. We have, excuse me, Spelljammer's Guide to the Galaxy, also a best Electrum seller, which came out again on the 16th, and Spelljammer Shipyard, which is a best silver seller, also, this one only came out on the 22nd of August. Spelljammer Shipyard is basically build your own spelljamming ships, something I wish we had from WotC, and I really appreciate that. Spelljammer Encounters in Wildspace is pretty much what it says, a whole series of random encounter tables for you to run in your Spelljammer campaign. Excuse me, and Spelljammer's Guide to the Galaxy has a little bit of everything. Races, subclasses, magic items, spells, a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's go ahead and dive into Spelljammer Encounters in Wildspace. So here you can see it right here. It does have bookmarks as well, which is nice. And if you scroll down, it's just basically rolls right into it, right? They have 2 different kinds of encounters. Excuse me. Simple encounters and complex encounters. Simple encounters are kind of what you see here, where everything is kind of detailed within the table itself, right? And that's what it says. The former consists of shorter descriptions with the D100 tables, while the latter are typically several paragraphs long and essentially almost like a mini kind of one-shot. They also have attitude rolls, right, to figure out how the creatures you're encountering are, how they feel towards you. And you can see a variety of these, right? Pretty simple, right? Invisible stalkers, a rock that doesn't need to breathe air, wild space is unusually cold. Each creature on the deck is exposed to 1d4 minus 1 brown molds. Spelljamming ship roll on the ship encounters table, which there is a whole ship encounters table here. As we can see, they write the Wasp ship Solitude, captained by Nasala Darona, who's an Alpha Archmage, and crewed by 3 Helmed Horrors and 3 Homunculi. We can continue on here. Here's more ships, and then we roll into the complex encounters, which is one that I did want to showcase specifically because it's the best one, a Flump spaceship, which is everything I love about Dungeons & Dragons, because Flumps are one of my favorite monsters. So, what does a Flump spaceship look like, you may ask? That would look like an enormous jellyfish, obviously. So, an enormous jellyfish is spotted a couple of thousand yards away from the ship's starboard side, propelling itself toward it with its tentacles. The translucent creature glows with green fluorescent light, and on a closer look it appears that smaller shapes move within it. Soon you begin hearing a voice within your mind, a soft, calm, soothing voice. And this giant jellyfish ship is crewed by 25 Flumps. Its interior consists of one roughly spherical 40-foot radius room where the Flumps float freely. In the middle, also floating, is the Spelljamming Helm, which is a translucent crystal. And then you can see it again has stats for the ship itself. It amplifies the telepathic abilities of the flumps inside, extending their telepathy. They contact the characters using telepathy. Peaceful, friendly, and only engaging in combat if forced to defend themselves. They're likely to have knowledge of various locations, events, and creatures without Wildspace, so they can be a good exposition drop for your characters. They express their interest to have one of their crew join the character's crew, traveling with them and learning more about the world, which I would be sold from the get-go. The characters show aggression towards them. They'll try to, take the actions to resolve that. If they can't with diplomacy, then they'll have to try to either escape or fight. Then it kind of has some options here, right? At least 5 flumps are needed to collectively activate these weapons. It does have a telepathic blast ability, as well as a stench aura, kind of tapping into the flump's base abilities, but kind of amplifying them if you have a whole group of them there. We'll go into next, Spelljammer's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, you know what? I didn't talk about pricing, right? So Spelljammer Encounters in Wildspace, $2.95. Guide to the Galaxy, $9.95. Shipyard, $7.95. Spelljammer's Guide to the Galaxy is the largest of all of these. Again, also has bookmarks. If we just scroll down, you can see here, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit so you can get a better look at it. We have 3 different race options, a variety of different class options for all the classes, including the Artificer. Then we have the Spacer's Sundry section, which has, again, some spells, magic items, but what I thought was really cool is a whole cybernetic thing for, biohacking, like improving or altering parts of your body via sort of cybernetic enhancements. They also have a similar thing with that with a mutation section, and then they also have a whole bestiary with new monsters and things. So I thought I would talk about the druid, and I'll be honest with you, I did look through a lot of the subclasses here. I think a lot of them clock in a little bit too powerful for what they are, personally. So I went with the druid because I think it's actually the other side of the spectrum. I think the druid actually a little underpowered, but you tell me. So circle spells for the Circle of the Void druid. Very cool concept. We have darkness, invisibility, slow, speak with dead, Evar's black tentacles, greater invisibility, telekinesis, and teleportation. Those are a very solid kit of spells to add to your druid spell list. No one's going to be upset to have those. Now, your main sort of ability that you get at level 2 is Void Beckoner. And something that I've said multiple times that I very much enjoy is when a subclass takes an established mechanic like Wild Shape and provides you new options on how to utilize it. So, as an action, you can expend a use of Wild Shape and undergo a transformation that is not into an animal, but you take on an aspect of the void. You can see in magical and non-magical darkness out to 120 feet. The area within 10 feet of you is filled with magical darkness. Non-magical plants in that area that aren't creatures wither, shrubs and flowers die, larger plants wilt. Hostile creature that starts its turn within this area takes a d6 force damage. There's no saving throw there. It's just damage. Now, that does kind of combo well later, and that may be kind of why the sort of underpowered that I'm talking about is because it's just dealing damage constantly. If you can keep people within that 10-foot radius, you're also at the benefit of it being magical darkness, and you can see through it, and they can't. Kind of gives me Twilight Cleric vibes, if you will. But and then the last bit here is when a creature you can see, which reminder you can see out of the darkness, starts its turn within 30 feet of you, you can force it to make a strength saving throw. A creature who can willingly fail this if you so choose, and on a failure, it is pulled to 10 feet towards you. Now, you could use this to pull an enemy creature into your magical darkness to deal them damage. And a reminder that the damage that's dealt with the magical darkness is only to hostile creatures. And this transformation lasts for 10 minutes, or if you're knocked out, or if you choose to end it with no action required. You also get Devour, which as an action, you touch a non-magical object that isn't larger than you and isn't being worn or carried, and you basically consume it as you are devouring things into the void. If the object holds information, such as a book, you can perfectly recall any information contained within the object until you use Devour again. And you can recall a dead creature's memories that way. And so if you touch a corpse, you can't tap into their brain. But, excuse me, the potential options for this, for sort of espionage or spy things, like, oh man, we really need to get the information out of that book, but we don't have time to read it, and you just kind of touch the book and then absorb the book into your body. The book is effectively gone for anybody else to find it, but you can perfectly recall everything from it until you use this ability again. At 6th level, you get Feed the Void, which sort of boosts that ability. But first of all, you can consume all food and drink, even if it's diseased or poison. It has no negative effect on you, which is a nice little roleplay aspect that I do like, but does have mechanical benefits. Additionally, if a spell such as Speak with Dead targets a corpse but doesn't reanimate it, you can you can be the target of the Speak with Dead, assuming you've absorbed that corpse, right? Because you can devour things. If it's a corpse, you could devour it for whatever reason, for the purposes of using this to hide a body, whatever. But if someone were to cast like something that allowed them to converse with it, like Speak with Dead, you could be the target, and then essentially the corpse could speak through you. Event Horizon means your level 2 ability Void Beckoner. If you trap a hostile creature within it, then forcing them to take that d6 force damage, they can't willingly leave that area. You, again, being an Event Horizon, kind of sucking them in, keeping them there. And then lastly, at 14th level, your Devour ability lets you absorb stuff, becomes a bonus action, and when you use it, you get 2d10 temporary hit points. Like I said, I think it's a little possibly underpowered overall, but either way, it does have good synergy within the class abilities itself. We do have some spells, we do have some magic items, but there's not too much there. But what I did want to jump into is the kind of the end stuff here, where we do have this cybernetic piece, again, for biohacking your body, doing all sorts of cool things. For example, like ear implants. Once integrated, you are immune to being deafened, and you gain advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing. There's more information here, but I'm just touching on the high level. Pulverizer. This is an arm piece, right? Or uncommon, requires attunement. Your melee attacks using that arm or a weapon held in that arm deal double damage to objects and structures. We have, web crawler legs. We have a rocket fist, a scorpion tail. In a similar fashion, we also have mutations, which can be caused from a variety of different options that can do things just like aesthetically changing the way things are, giving yourself chameleon-style skin. Wings, rapid pace here is when you dash, your movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity until the end of the turn. And in addition, you can dash as a bonus action once per short or long rest. And then we actually move into a whole set of monsters. And they did have some cool ones I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to go over them too in depth, but I love this solar ray. Basically like a big, space stingray creature, which I think looks pretty cool. And probably one of my favorites is obviously the space whale, right? Anybody fan of Star Trek, space whales really just resonate with me. And that is pretty much it for Spelljammer's Guide to the Galaxy. And last but not least, we have Spelljammer Shipyard, which is essentially something I wish Wizards of the Coast included, and this is basically a guide for creating your own spelljamming ships to use in your campaign from scratch. It's pretty simplistic here. They break it down into basically what they call modules. Each ship is contained with a number of modules that you decide. Here's a little bit about how long it takes to install and rearrange them, just the different day time frames. But the only thing that's mandatory you need for a Spelljammer is the helm itself, right? That's the thing that lets you pilot it. And then again, it comes down to give you more statistics to how to determine armor class, damage threshold, hit points, crew size, etc. And then right here is the table of all the different modules and the gold piece value associated with them. They give you a sample ship here, the Guppy, which has 5 modules, a spelljamming helm, which is again the requirement, dormitories, a place for your crew to stay, a lounge, a weapon bay with a ballista, and an Arcaneum, which happens to be, in this instance, essentially where you keep most of your magic junk on your ship here. But they also have upgrades. You can see you can add ritual tools as a function of it, right? You can cast any spell you know or have prepared that uses the ritual tag. You can do this even if you usually lack the ability to cast spells as rituals. And then again, you can improve it to have it kind of generate spell components, or at least reduce the cost of spell components, or increase the library so you can cast any first level spell with the ritual tag as a ritual while in the Arcaneum, even if you don't know the spell. Different hull improvements to make our ships a little hardier. Different armories where we can add a variety of different things like armor closet, endless quivers. We can add automatons to have animated armor to help us work on our ship or staff it. Cargo holds, we can do cryogenic ward, so if we want to do cryo sleep kind of situations where we can go to sleep and not have to deal with and just wake up when we arrive at our destination, so we don't have to, be awake for that whole time period. Drones, escape pods, like I said, kind of claws to grab things, a greenhouse to allow you to grow plants, whether for food or oxygen. An internal kind of intelligence core hub for your ship, adding artificial crew members, really you can live out as much of a space, science fiction or space fantasy you want here. Legs for landing, we have again a lounge, whether that be gaming tables or a bar, a medical bay with different medical improvements to help heal your crew or yourself when you take damage, planar gates to do interplanar travel, again, rams for the front of the ship to deal damage, sails to whether that allows you to go on water or not. That's an option there. Again, the helm itself. And then the terrarium, the treants, ways to generate oxygen and air for your ship without having to stop and redock and kind of supply there. Generating shields. And then again, we have our various weapon bays, ballista, mangonels, and then again, improvements we can make to them. And then they do provide us a few more pre-built Spelljammer ships. We have the Bumblebee ship here, the Starfish ship, Kindori Tomb, a Seahorse ship, and an Iron Urchin, giving us a couple of options. And again, here's a little bit of a breakdown of what those ships look like map-wise. So, again, it's a pretty simple little document, but it does a lot, and I know a lot of people were upset that they didn't have rules. Again, I don't know if those were things we had in earlier editions with Spelljammer, but in 5th edition, it seemed like something we should probably have a means to design and build our own spelljamming ships. The only thing we basically could do is look at the ships that did exist and try to extrapolate from them an idea to build our own, whereas this kind of makes it a little bit easier and expands upon it by adding other opportunities and different things you can add to build out and customize your ship, as well as offering improvements for the various things within. So, like I said, these are 3 great spelljamming documents we have, from whether it's just encounters for running your game to make things a little more smoother, whether you want to do subclasses or sort of cyber tech style stuff for your characters, or just learning how to build your own spelljamming ship, or coming up with rules to make something a little more customized and different than what you'd find within the 16 options you have for ships within Spelljammer Adventures in Space. So, anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. A huge shout out and again, a thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for supporting me and the channel, and I will see you all next time.